Mr. Minnick helping my students with writing if statements worksheet number 2. So we have an example here that you should be using throughout the rest of this worksheet to show you what the model of a really good if statement in Python. I, as an instructor, stress that you should always put parentheses around the control expression of an if statement. You don't have to according to the rules of Python, but if you take any other computer science courses, especially here at this school, in the language Java and, for example, C or C++, those parentheses are required. So just get in good habits now as a beginner. Other things that I'll note is that you need a colon here, which I did add in some of these exercises below. And you need to use proper indentation. Python will not execute if statements if the body of an if statement is not indented. And here's another free tip. If, say, this print statement were indented that far, but if this print statement were typed where the P is like indented, but it's a little bit over to the left, so it's not vertically lined up, you would get an error message. That's how strict Python is. The indentation levels have to be consistent. It's very picky with indentation. A lot of professors even don't like Python because it's strict, whereas other languages in the old days weren't. So even the police, professors, we don't like that indentation rule ourselves, and even high school teachers like me. Okay, I proceed with the first real teaching here in this example. In this exercise 1, I meant to say. Okay, exercise 1, I've already done a lot of the work for you, but I'm stressing mathematical properties on this worksheet. In other words, what it means to be an even number. If you're an even number, that means that you are evenly divisible by 2. That also means that you are a multiple of 2, and that also means that 2 is a factor of you. So this is just one way of getting across the fact that if any number like num is percent symbol 2, in other words, if when you divide it, the remainder of dividing it by 2 is equal to 0, then you know that num is an even number. Let's do some little tests. If 12 were divided by 2 and you did long division, you would soon see that the remainder is 0. Well, it's no coincidence that 12 is an even number. But if you take a random odd number, like say 17, and you divide it by 2 and find the remainder with this percent symbol in Python, the remainder of that is going to be 1. It's just always true. I don't know why I hear talking in the background, probably because this is so exciting. But the remainder is always 1 if it's an odd number. So dividing by 2 is kind of like the answer to life. Everything comes down to dividing by 2. Did you know that if you take the typical male and divide him by 2, the remainder's always going to be... So I was trying to make a witty joke about always dividing a human being by 2, and male or female, but that doesn't work and it's not appropriate for this video. So let's just stick to the focus. Anytime you have an integer or a number that's positive, I know it works for positive numbers. When you do percent symbol 2 in a computer language like Python, that finds the remainder behind the scenes. And you just don't know it's always going to be 0 or 1. So this trick is a trick that we can use. And then whatever you're supposed to do, in this case, I'm telling you to print the word true. So in that case, you'd have to use the command print. There's a command print, of course. We've learned this in Python. And in version 3 of Python that we're using in this class, you got to use parentheses with the word print. And I want you to put the word true in double quotes to make it a string. So do the same thing down here. I'm not going to do everything in the video for you. So you all should be writing print true on number 2 also, because that's what we are doing as the whole purpose of the if statement. So we are translating English that's given to us in the exercise, and we're writing code in Python. Now, number 3, I don't even give you a starting point. In number 3, you have to write everything yourself. I just had a special request for me to do number 4, but let's do number 3 first. So even though the word if in English is capital I there, you need to get full credit, you need to type the word I in lowercase. And then because the name of the variable in question is num, just like in exercises 1 and 2, you should type num. And to check if something's evenly divisible, you always find the remainder of it. But in number 3, we want to know if something's evenly divisible by 3, not by 2. Because to check if something's even, you're really checking to see if it's evenly divisible by 2. So here we put the number 3 there, and we do the double equals 0. And we need a colon. So that is how you check to see if something's evenly divisible by 3. You check to see if that number, num, when divided by 3, yields a remainder. See, I can't do it because I don't know what the number n is, but when the remainder is 0, that's when you know that num is evenly divisible by the divisor 3. So this is that part, and then you have to indent and type print true. So I'm just quickly scratching in here. It's hard to print with a mouse, even when you've been doing this for as many years as me. See, look at that. I'm trying really hard to make it neat. And there it is. Number 4, did you know that being evenly divisible by 3 is really the same thing as being a multiple of 3? True fact, go ask your 5th or 6th grade math teacher. But number 4 is really the same answer as number 3. It's the same exact Python code that would go in there. I'm just asking you the same mathematical fact in a different way of saying it. So, because you should always know about multiples and stuff for the rest of your life. Plus, it's on the Keystone or PSSA test or something. It's on the SAT test that you do in college. Now, it's also used a lot in like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and all kinds of other things that are important to you on your phones and social media life. I can show you examples, but not right now in this video, of where these number relationships are important for software to work correctly. Number 5, that's the same thing, except it's the opposite. So in number 5, if you go to my lecture notes for Unit 3, which is what you should do if I ever don't explain something fully in a video, going to my lecture notes and scrolling down to like page, I think it's about page 8 of 11. It's a long page of lecture notes that many people, besides people that go to our school district, look at for tips. Right here, in this section, one of my teaching objectives and your learning objectives in this course is to learn how to use the modulus operator to test divisibility rules. And right here is the one where I'm telling you how to do factors. And down here further, I give you an actual example of code to see if something is not evenly divisible, but to see if something is a factor. So I'm going to copy and paste this code right here and paste it in over here to my answer to number 5. Bam! Look at that. Now this num is a factor. I need to put num here. If you understand what I'm explaining in my lecture notes, you would need to rearrange the 24 and the num for it to make sense. Catch this. This is how I catch copy and pasters. See, on the worksheet exercise, you're supposed to print true. But in the notes, I say yes. So you should change this to true, T-R-U-E. And of course, you had to know to switch the num and the 4 around to 24 num. There are people that just try to get by, make it look good on worksheets, copying from other people, or just copying from the lecture notes. But you really are supposed to read the lecture notes. And because this is a technical class, kind of like science, You sometimes have to read notes 2 or 3 or 4 times. It's not like a book that just makes sense. And then once you find out, who won from District 12, it's like you don't have to reread that page. The girl who shoots the bow and arrow is from District 12, and she shoots the king, that guy with white hair that sits up there on the big porch. And that happens in that Mr. Snow, yeah, President Snow. Oh, number 6. Now the bell's about to ring, and I don't have much time, so I will do this real quickly, but leave gaps. If multiple of 3 and not multiple of 3 of 24, colon. Well, to be a multiple of 3, that means num percent symbol 3 double equals 0. The word not does work in Python, but I think that's a combination of the exercises that we just did before. I think that's the answer, but I'm not going to swear by it. Then you have to add the next line of code. Number 7, hint, see the lecture notes. That's going to separate the A's from the B's.